What is going on, guys? It's the France, and we are here for a special video, the top 25 moments of Raw in Raw history, voted on by the fans on Twitter. I believe is what they used. Where they had this on last night right after SmackDown. I think this is also what they had on the WWE Network the night before. But we had the top 25 moments 100 to 26 were on WWE.com, which I did not look up yet at all, but going over this list, I agree with some of them, and there's other ones that I really don't agree with where they landed, but I didn't vote, so I don't really get a say on that. But I will give my opinion on this. We started off with number 25 being the Dudley Boys powerbombing Mae Young off the stage through two tables. Well, actually one table, and then onto the floor. But Bubba went a little bit too far, I believe, on the landing. I think this was a good moment. I do give Mae Young props for being okay with doing the spot, especially at her age at the time, and being in a neck brace, which I think was just there for eccentrics. But good spot. Number 24 was the 1-2-3 Kid over Razor Ramon, as they dubbed it the greatest upset of all time, which I don't buy it being that. I just say that it was a good moment. I did watch this back on the WWE Network when it first came out. I watched the first few years of Raw because I was 3 years old when this happened, so I'm not going to remember any of this, even if I did watch this. I was 3 years old, so I wouldn't remember this when at that age. Of course, this moment right here would give Sean Waltman his first run with the WWE. He would become the 1-2-3 Kid. He would have the best championship match on Monday Night Raw's history in the first few years when he faced Bret Hart for the WWF Championship in 1994. Great moment overall there. That match should have been on this list. I hope it was in the first 100 to 26. That match was the best WWF Championship match in the early years of WWE. Monday Night Raw. Number 23 here was Eric Bischoff named as GM of Monday Night Raw, which I think should have been a little bit higher on the list due to the fact that it was a shocking moment. This guy, Eric Bischoff, for years, tried to destroy and kill off WWE's Monday Night Raw just because he could. And to be here in the WWE now in 2002 when it happened, and was it 2002 or 2003, whichever year it was, and be just welcomed in with open arms, it shocked a lot of people. And I've also read somewhere a couple years ago Bischoff told that nobody besides him, Triple H, Vince McMahon knew. I think Triple H, but Vince McMahon, him, and a couple other people knew. Like the entire locker room, those shocked looks you saw in like Booker T and Coach and other spaces during that first episode that he was GM were legitimate. So good moment. Number 22, I think, should have been in the top 5, which was Shane McMahon buys WCW from under Vince McMahon's nose. The moment on its own was a big moment, something you'll never forget. This was actually the first time in my young life couldn't remember anything from the WWF at the time because I was a WCW guy from 1997 until 2001 when I saw Goldberg face Hollywood Hogan for the WCW Championship. So this moment was the first time I saw this entire day was when Vince McMahon started off WCW saying he bought it and all that stuff until the end when Shane McMahon showed up was the first I ever got to see of WWF from my recollection. I think that should have been in the top 10 because in the moment itself, it was a big deal. But what it led to was just a battle with McMahon's at WrestleMania, which everything. And then, of course, it led to that invasion angle, which turned out to be Stephanie and Shane versus Vince McMahon, which it is what it is. Number 21, which I think should have been in the top 5, Mike Tyson versus Austin in the middle of the ring. Tyson and Austin, the baddest man on the planet, makes it to the WWE's Monday Night Raw. This should have been in the top 5 simply because of the impact it had on WWF at the time. I can probably tell by if this moment does not happen, the WWE does not do as well for WrestleMania that year. Austin versus Michaels was a big deal itself, but adding Mike Tyson just added that extra spice, that extra little kick that the main event of WrestleMania 14 needed. Number 20 was This Is Your Life, which I was like Please tell me this isn't going to be very high, because it was a cool moment, I guess, for the Attitude Era. But in the grand scheme of things, yes, it's the highest rated segment in WWE's history on Raw and on Raw, or any segment they've ever done. But it really wasn't that big of a moment. It really wasn't. I mean, it did do what it needed to do. It got the day done. But top 20, I guess you could say that. Number 19 was Triple H coming out and ruining Test and Stephanie McMahon's wedding, revealing that he took Stephanie drugged out to a chapel and married her under everyone's noses. It was a good moment because it led to the McMahon Helmsley faction of Stephanie and Triple H just running roughshod over WWE, which they still do to this day. So we're still feeling the effects of this, because of course they did get married a couple years later in real life, but this was the start of all that. So good moment for that. Number 18, and it was a good moment last year, the Festival of Friendship. To be number 18 after everything else that's happened in Monday Night Raw's history, a little bit of shock. I figured it could be in the top 25. It was a big moment, but to be number 18, really surprising. Good moment, cool moment. Set up Jericho versus Owens at WrestleMania for the United States Championship, which Kevin Owens would win, and then of course carry over the SmackDown and trade between himself and AJ Styles over last summer. Number 17 was Edge's retirement speech, which I had to watch this on tape because I was at work at the time. I was working at Wendy's in town at the time. Much younger, of course. This was 2011. Yeah, I was like 21 at the time, so I had to have a job, you know. So yeah, I was at work and I came home and watched that Monday Night Raw, and it was still, not even watching it live, it was still hard to watch, knowing that Edge, who worked his tail off over the last 6 years to get what he is, when at one time, if you remember, Vince McMahon didn't see anything in Edge other than just a good mid-carder, and Edge had to prove to Vince that he was worth his time. So, good. It was a heck of a speech, and it was a good moment, and it deserves its place in the top 20. The next one, which I do not agree with, and I don't even think should be in the top 20 or 25 at all, Undertaker's return after those weeks and weeks and weeks of 2011, I believe, 2000, like that whole entire promo thing of like someone walking with boots and just walking to a cabin. That promo, when he comes back and gets interrupted by Triple H, not a huge moment, not a great moment. It would have been much bigger had the Undertaker not disappeared every year and then just keep coming back and coming back and coming back and coming back. So it was a moment, I guess, but it's not one of the top 25 biggest moments in WWE's Raw history. Now, before I go any further, just a reminder, this is my opinion on all this stuff, but to me that wasn't just not a top 25 moment. Top 100, yes, but not top 25, especially since he's done it over and over and over again. So there's that. Number 15, which is actually two moments that they did that you could count it, I guess, if you wanted to, is Austin assaults Vince McMahon in the hospital after Mr. Socko was introduced, which should be a moment in and of itself, because Mr. Socko was born that night. Wasn't even supposed to really be a big deal, but Mr. Socko was born on this fateful night. Of course, if y'all remember, Vince McMahon was injured, kayfabe, and in the hospital. If you actually watch the segment back, and Austin has told this story himself, when Yurpo and them are all in there, you hear like that banging in the background. It's actually Austin trying to find a soft spot on that bedpan to hit McMahon so he's not going to hurt him and give him a concussion. So, cool little moment there. Great moment itself. Number 14, Shane McMahon returns to the WWE 2 years ago. Biggest pop since Daniel Bryan returned to the WWE in the Royal Rumble 2014. Biggest pop for somebody who is not an active wrestler in a long time. It was so deafening. I think they did a retrospective like the next week of that moment, and how like you had like Mick Foley and others say it is like the biggest pop I have ever heard. So, yes, it was a huge moment and much deserving in the top 14. Number 13 was Jeff Hardy's swanton off the old Monday Night Raw stage when he climbed up 30-some feet to swanton off that to hit Randy Orton in his second run in WWE, not the current run he's in now, but his second run. Good moment. I remember seeing that one live and like, what is he doing? And he just kept going up. I was like, okay, he's good. Then he kept going up. Then he kept going up. And he kept going up. And heck, I thought he was going to go up even further, but he didn't, thank God. And he just hit this nice swanton bomb and got taken out on a stretcher. Stands to this day, how this guy has a career still is beyond me with how many things he's done to his own body. I know fear is part of it all, but he is the charismatic enigma for a reason. Number 12 is the DX invasion, which in hindsight isn't a big moment really at all. All they did, if it would have been a bigger moment, and Triple H and them have also said this too, had Eric Bischoff actually let them in to WCW. It would have been a huge moment had you had Triple H and DX go into WCW and them and WCW personnel started brawling. Would have made it a bigger moment. These guys just look like a bunch of jackasses outside, just sitting there chanting DX and like talking about how WCW sucks, and like it was just a boring moment. I don't know why anyone finds it. It's not as big of a moment as everyone puts it out to be. It really wasn't. Number 11, Brock Lesnar returned in 2013, I believe, when after WrestleMania. Oh, it's 2012. Yeah, 2012. When he came out in F5 John Cena. Good moment at the time, but then they killed all, and they gave him a lot of momentum. He comes in, grabs John Cena by faking out a shake hand, hits him with an F5, and they killed all of his momentum a couple weeks later when he lost to John Cena at, what was it, Extreme Rules in that Extreme Rules match. Yeah, good moment on its own, but what it led to was they killed his momentum. Number 10, Cena is drafted to Monday Night Raw in the 2005 WWE Draft. Not top 10 in my opinion, not top 10 at all. This guy, it was the start of the John Cena that, like, this was of course back in 2005 when everybody in the WWE universe loved John Cena. This was back when John Cena was 100% over. There was no let's go Cena, Cena sucks. It was all John Cena from the beginning. And then, of course, this led to John Cena being the guy who can never lose. But if he loses, it's almost never. And WWE is trying to recreate this. This John Cena is what WWE wants Roman Reigns to be now. But that's never going to happen because this was a guy, at one time, everybody universally loved when he was that rapper guy. But now the John Cena we see today is not the John Cena that was drafted in 2005. So, big moment, but not top 10. Mankind wins the WWF Championship is number 9. This is also the moment that Tony Schiavone spoiled on WCW's TV that shifted so many people from WCW's Monday Night Show over to WWF Raw to see this moment happen and change the balance of the Monday Night Wars forever. So this was a moment, I think this should be a top 5 moment. There are some good moments in the top 5, but I still think this should have been a top 5 moment, my opinion. Trish and Lita main event Raw for the first time. This would also be the first time a women's match ever main evented Raw. This was for the WWE Women's Championship, the original Women's Championship, that looked so much better than the championship belt they got now, in my opinion, just saying. But yes, this was a good main event. I saw this match live as well. I love this match, and of course, much deserving of a top 10 spot for sure. These two put on a heck of a classic in 2004 or 2005, whichever year it was. Definitely deserving of the props that it gets for being a top 10 pick. Number 7 was Seth destroying the Shield. Yes, it was a big moment, and yes, it deserves to be in the top 10. Definitely not top 5, but definitely top 10. This was a big moment. These guys were on top of the world. These guys were untouchable. These guys were bigger than anything in WWE. In just one fell swoop, they destroyed it like that. And it was done. From the Shield, we have the next moment, which I don't know why this is a top 6 moment, but Roman Reigns promo the night after WrestleMania last year, where he comes out and just gets booed out of the building. He just stands there for about 10 minutes, points to his hand, and without really saying it on the mic, but he's like, I have them in the palm of my hand. The only thing he utters is, it's my yard now, and leaves. Cuts the best heel promo he has cut to this day, and yet WWE still wants to portray him as a babyface. Yeah. Top 5, number 5, Austin stuns Vince for the first time. This should be, I think, the top 2 or 3. This was a big moment. Austin was stunning everybody up in this time. This is right after he broke his neck from Owen Hart. Owen Hart, of course, had a quote-unquote restraining order against Austin because Austin wanted to kill him, like, in kayfabe, or literally, for pretty much just, almost ruining his career. Of course, this came down to a show in Madison Square Garden, I believe, and McMahon gets in the ring trying to convince Austin to stop doing what he's doing. Austin, of course, then says, I appreciate all the fact that WWF cares, but, you can kiss my ass," and then he stuns Vince McMahon and then gets carted off to jail. Number 4, Jericho debuts on Monday Night Raw, interrupting The Rock. Really cool moment. There was, if you can tell, there were people in the crowd who were in the know at the time. This was still back before Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all that stuff. Where, like, yesterday we had Ricochet, War Machine, Candice LeRae all announced to joining the Performance Center in WWE. Back then, this was not. They didn't have that. They didn't have those social medias. You had to be in the know or know people who knew Jericho was coming. So for a lot of people, this was a big surprise. And as you heard, if you watch that moment back, the crowd just goes crazy. I believe there are Jericho signs in the crowd, though. There were people who were like, it's got to be Jericho. It's got to be Jericho. But good moment. Really great moment. Definitely good. Number 3 was Occupy Raw, which was a very good moment. It was a great moment for us as fans because we wanted this. It showed that we could make a difference for a superstar in Daniel Bryan, who WWE did not want to give them the championship, and even after they gave him the championship at WrestleMania 30, you could even honestly tell they were not wanting him to be champion for very long. Hell, the Brock Lesnar versus John Cena match at SummerSlam was supposed to be Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan, with Daniel Bryan being destroyed like John Cena was that same way. They booked the match between John Cena and Brock Lesnar at that year's SummerSlam the same way that Daniel Bryan was going to get destroyed, just because they wanted to snap Daniel Bryan out of this fantasy that he is as good as he thinks he is to them. Number 2, and I am really surprised this got so high, the pipe bomb. The pipe bomb. CM Punk's pipe bomb is number 2 on this list. For those who don't know, in 2011, I believe it was, CM Punk was the WWE champion going into Money in the Bank. CM Punk's contract was coming up. CM Punk on I think it was the Go Home show to Money in the Bank, after I believe it was a match with John Cena or something with John Cena, he grabs a microphone, goes up to the ramp, and cuts a scathing promo on John Cena, Vince McMahon, Triple H, and the entire company. One of the best moments of all time. Now, it was a really good moment, and it's surprising to me because of it was number 2. Number 1, I do not 100% agree with. I don't know why this is number 1. It was a fun, cool-looking moment, but it wasn't the best moment in all of Raw's history. This is, of course, the fans' vote, so I don't know what fans were thinking. The beer bath of the corporation is voted number 1 as voted on by the fans. I don't know why this is even close to the top 25. This was a cool moment. The Austin Stunning Man, the baddest man on the planet, the pipe bomb, better moments than the beer bath. So that would have been a better moment. Those would have been better moments than this one. This one in top 25, maybe in top 20, maybe top 25 is in the last 24 to 25 to 21. but not the number one moment. Maybe it's because they show it off a lot whenever they want to show flashbacks of Monday Night Raw. They show this beer bath all the time, but it really wasn't a great moment. What was great is they didn't show any of the invasion, like the invasion angle starting or whatever else. Like, that was a good thing. They didn't show that in these top 25 moments. Maybe that's in the top 100. I doubt it. But definitely not one of the best top moments of all time. Again, those were the top 25 moments. A little bit of a review there for you guys on that. We will be here for Monday Night Raw top 25, like the 25th anniversary of Raw, which will be this Monday. Of course, we'll be back here tonight for NXT, and this Saturday for the news, rumors, and predictions of the week. Until then, my name is The France. You guys can follow me on Twitter at The France. Remember me on twitch.tv/TheFrance08. And I am on there every single day. I'll be on there at about an hour. By the time this thing gets up, I'll probably be live. So until then, you guys have a wonderful day, afternoon, or night, whenever you see this, and I will see you guys later.